just wanted to go through the different sleep cycles because I think understanding of this will help you understand some of the tips and why you hear some of the recommendations that you hear around sleep. So it won't take very long. It's not too complicated. Just bear with me for a little bit of time, and I think other things will make more sense. So a normal sleep cycle consists of 4 different stages. 3 of them are what we call non-rapid eye movement, or REM, so non-REM stages. And one of the 4 is a REM stage, and we're going to go through them all. So stage 1, non-REM, this is the initial stage. So it's like the transition period when you go from being awake to just starting to fall asleep. So your body starts to shut down, your heart rate, your breathing rate, your eye movements all start to slow, your muscles start to relax, your brain activity also starts to decrease, and you're in what we call like a light sleep. This is also the stage of sleep that it's the easiest to be woken up from. From there, we go a little deeper into stage 2, still in non-REM sleep. Your heart rate, your breathing rate continue to slow down. Your body temperature starts to drop now. Your eyes will become still, and this is usually the longest stage that you're in. From there, a little deeper yet, we go down into stage 3, again, non-REM sleep. Your heart rate, your breathing rate, and your brain activity reach the lowest levels at this point during the sleep cycle. Your eye movements stop. Your muscles are totally relaxed, and this is what we call slow wave sleep, meaning slow brainwave sleep. Then we get into stage 4, which is our REM sleep, or our rapid eye movement. And this is the one we kind of hear all kinds of things about. So this starts about 90 minutes after initially falling asleep. So your eye movements restart during this phase. You'll see them. They're usually rapidly going back and forth. Your heart rate, your breathing rate quicken. And this is where dreams are most likely to happen as well. And this whole REM, why it's different, they're not 100% sure why, but it's thought to play a role in memory consolidation. So this is where we want to start talking about why we want to understand these different stages. So these 4 non-REM and REM stages repeat in a cyclical fashion throughout the night. Imagine that. We're always talking about cycles, aren't we? So each cycle should last about 90 to 120 minutes. So if you were sleeping about 8 hours, that would result in about 4 to 5 of those complete sleep cycles. Hopefully we're still tracking. This is where it starts to get a little bit more complicated. During those first 2 cycles, so that first couple hours or so, in your first half of the night while you're asleep, the non-REM and the slow wave sleep is the most dominant. So your REM will only last about 10 minutes when you're in that first half of the night. Flip it over to the second half. During the later cycles, everything flips and the REM becomes more dominant, and it can last 40 minutes or longer. And the non-REM sleep virtually ceases during these cycles. And this is where that recommendation of the 7 to 9 hours comes from, because it's understanding that the cycles differ through the night and you need both to feel. So you're getting all that restorative sleep in the first half of the night. You're getting more of that memory consolidation in the second half of the night. And it's important for your total sleep time. So that's it on sleep cycles. And in the light of that, I wanted to just share some information with you about sleep debt. So we know that sleep is essential to our overall health. We feel more energized during the day, it improves our immune function, and it aids our brain to process and store new information. We also know that not getting enough sleep can have serious consequences and interfere with work, school, driving, whatever it is. It increases our risk for diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, and stroke. It's also linked to reduced immune function, metabolic dysregulation, weight gain, all kinds of things. All that to say that we know that we need it. And then let's talk a little bit about sleep debt. So sleep debt is exactly what it sounds like. It's when we have a sleep deficit. So it's the difference between the amount of sleep someone needs and the amount of sleep they actually get. So it's just the debt is that difference, that deficit that you're not getting quite as much as you need. The problem with it, so it's not a big deal if it's like a little bit here and there periodically, not so much impact. It's the cumulative effects of that happening every day, and it quickly adds up. So here are some of the most common things that cause us issues with sleep debt, and you can probably check off at least one or two of these. Work, commuting, especially long distances, socializing, just relaxing, watching TV, all of those things, like they're not bad things, but they can cut into the time that we allow ourselves to sleep. And then our bodies are pretty amazing too, because they're also able to adapt quite well to chronic sleep restriction. So you may not feel that you're very tired. It's a crazy thing. So the best way of reducing the chances of accumulating sleep debt is to improve what we call our sleep hygiene. I hate that expression. It just doesn't sound very nice. It sounds very clinical. And that's where I learned it, was when I used to work in sleep from a healthcare perspective as a respiratory therapist. So it's all it is talking about is just the whole, everything related to your sleep, the environment, all of it. So how does it stack up to put you in a good place? So some of the things that you can do are, and we've talked a lot about these already in our tips, is keeping a set schedule. So going to bed and getting up around the same time every day, whether you're working or not. Developing a nightly routine, whatever that is and whatever is going to support you. And it can be quite different. So if you go into as an example, if you go into the human design video, myself as a generator, I am meant to just be exhausted at the end of the day. So I was beating myself up for a really long time of not having this nice routine where I would go to bed and maybe read for a while and relax for a while. I'm not designed to do that. So I was beating myself up because I was falling asleep on the couch. That's what I'm supposed to do. So now that I've kind of gotten rid of that part of an idea of what my nightly routine should look like, it's now changed to support just that gradually relaxing on my couch. And then I go off to bed. So it's now part of my routine. And that can be quite different for other people. Another one too is to consider our daytime habits. So that's the things we've been talking about making sure we're getting enough sunlight, that we're watching the caffeine and alcohol where that might be fragmenting our sleep or disrupting our sleep cycles. And then our bedroom environments. We've talked a lot about bedroom sanctuaries and how that all plays. So let's talk about how we can recover from sleep debt. So if it's brief, a 10 to 20 minute nap may help you feel a little bit more refreshed. It can increase your working memory, your learning and mental acuity for the next few hours. And I often do this because as a personal trainer, I tend to work in the evening because that's when my people are available after work. But I also get up at between 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. So it's a really long day. So I often use a short nap right before I do my block of work in the afternoon and evening, just to help me feel a little bit more refreshed as I go through it, instead of relying on caffeine, which was what I used to do. And sleeping in on the weekends we're not clear if that addresses sleep debt or if it just returns us to what our normal sleep patterns would be if we didn't have to get up for work and do all those other kind of things. So that's it. So it's just something, again, I'm never here to preach to you about what you should do. It's about sharing information, things I've learned over many years of being involved in this. And so you can make your own decisions about what